Good morning. My name is Jenny Divish, and I'm an organizer with the Making Change at Walmart, a project of United Food and Commercial Workers Union. Thank you for being here. Today, as millions of Americans are writing checks to pay their taxes, Walmart, the world's largest retailer, is looking yet again to shift its tax burden onto homeowners across the state of Wisconsin. When it comes to property taxes, instead of paying what it owes, Walmart is exploiting a ridiculous loophole in our tax code that allows them to lower the value of their stores, sometimes up to 50%, and thereby pay millions less in property taxes. Walmart is so set on ripping off local communities and forcing homeowners to make up the difference that they even take small towns and cities to court to make sure that they can keep their next tax break. They call this the dark store tax loophole. And let me be clear. Everything about that Walmart is doing here is dark and shady. It's dark and shady when you file lawsuits against small towns to have your property assessed as if it were an abandoned storefront. It's dark and shady to force small towns to have to spend resources to fight against Walmart's dark store tax lawsuits. And it's dark and shady for Walmart to force homeowners to pick up their tax tab when it comes to funding local towns and public schools. Because of Walmart's dark and shady practice, communities find themselves in a catch-22. You either fight Walmart, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and risk being perceived as anti-business, or you do nothing and watch hundreds of thousands of property taxes go uncollected from Walmart. Like I said, this is all about Walmart being dark and shady. When homeowners get their assessment letter for the year, do you know what it says at the top? It says each year all assessments will be brought to market value. This is a great way to ensure that all property owners are paying their fair share of taxes. But when you have a bad community partner like Walmart using loopholes to get out of paying their fair share, much of the tax burden is shifted onto homeowners, like it is in the case of Rob and Barb Piper. I've had the opportunity to talk to the Pipers who are here today and quite a few other homeowners here in Madison and Milwaukee who have had their home assessed much higher than the previous year. It's time to close the dark store loophole. So we are here in Madison at the Capitol today to highlight the work that Senator Ringhand, Senator Larson, and Representative Onstead have all done to shed this light on the dark store loophole and try to close it. Even though Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald blocked this bill in the last days of the session. We will also hear from the homeowners, Rob and Barb Piper. So I would like to bring up our first speaker, and that is Senator Janice Ringhand, which is a co-sponsor of AB 386.
Well, thank you very much, Jenny, and thank you for being here today. This is a bill that I have found especially important because I was previously a municipally elected official, and I know what these tax burdens can be on any community and how it hurts their schools, the counties, who all receive funding from these tax assessments for the big box stores, Walmart and many others. And Jenny did a great job of explaining how the dark store loophole works, that these stores go in to have their assessments lowered, claiming their value is way less. And it pushes that burden off onto every other residential property taxpayer and small business taxpayer, because the burden of those taxes does simply not go away. It just gets shifted, and that really hurts our municipal, every entity in them. And one of the amendments in the bill that we attached was to have assessments done fairly according to other property sales in the area. That's how residential properties are assessed currently. They look at comparable sales, and that's how businesses should be assessed as well, which would help to eliminate that loophole. And there were 73 authors on this bill, bipartisan, Senate, Assembly, Republican, Democrat, who all worked together to say this is wrong for our municipalities, our schools, our counties. We need equality and fairness in how taxes are paid. But the bill was blocked. We tried to pull it to the floor twice in our last two sessions just to have it blocked by maneuvers by the opposition, the majority party, both times. So it's very disappointing when 73 bipartisan authors have their desires and wishes thwarted, when we know that this is the right thing to do for the taxpayers in our communities. And I know you'll hear horror stories of municipalities such as Janesville in my district. Their homeowners pay over $560 per household in addition to their normal assessment because of these dark store loopholes. So it's time for a change. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Senator Ringhand. We're going to bring up Chris Larson, Senator Chris Larson now.
Thank you, Jenny, and thanks to everybody who's here. Thanks to the homeowners for coming out, representatives of UFCW and the other co-sponsors of this. This is about fairness, and we strive as elected officials to make sure that there is fairness in application of the law, as well as fairness in who is paying into the system. When it is becoming more and more apparent that big multinational corporations have figured out a small loophole and seek to make it wider and wider so they can save their money, their bottom line, and shift it onto other property taxpayers, and they're not going to correct it just because we bring attention to it. That's where we have to step in as lawmakers to try and fix that. And that's what AB 386 would do. It would clarify that a vacant or dark property cannot be used as comparable property for determining the assessed value of a fully operational and occupied property. This sounds like pretty common sense. It says that when an assessor uses sales of comparable properties for determining the value of a property, they must use properties that are within the same market segment and similar to the property being assessed with regard to age, condition, use, type of construction, location, design, and economic characteristics. This bill would not create new law. Rather, it codifies existing Wisconsin case law and parts of DOR's Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual. So otherwise what is happening right now could end up spreading, which is, sure, some of these larger corporations that are doing this. Jenny mentioned Walmart. We've also seen Lowe's. We've also seen Walgreens. And we've also seen Menards utilize this practice. And what they do is they say, man, it'd be great if we have the tax assessor come and compare our property, which is producing millions of dollars. It'd be better if we actually compared it to that vacant property down the block that's been boarded up and unused. And instead of having to pay property taxes on what the building actually does, base it off of that one. And in some more egregious cases, it's where the other building they're comparing it to is one that they own and have decided to board up and saying, well, just for the sake of comparison so they can save money. This is wrong. This is something that homeowners, individual homeowners, don't have the option to do, to be able to appeal to their city assessor and say, yes, you've assessed my house at a value based off of what it is, what I use it for, and what its real estate value is. But I sure would like it a lot more if I could just pay property taxes based off of what the abandoned house is a mile away that's overgrown, with the gutters falling off, with the copper ripped out of it, and with glass in disrepair that hasn't had its lawn mowed in months, and say, well, that's the price I'd like to pay. If that happens, we don't have the ability to govern. We don't have the ability to actually pay our bills, do construction, make sure that we have a lively community. And so we need to make sure that we're stepping in as lawmakers so that corporations can't do this, individuals can't do it. It's about making sure that everyone is paying their fair share. This isn't just theoretical either. In a community I represent, Franklin, a few months ago, they had to actually send out checks to Lowe's, totaling over $60,000. This is money that had been brought in from homeowners, and now they had to pay it out because Lowe's was able to use the dark store loophole to say that they should be assessed at a lower value. So this is costing real money that could be going towards paving roads, it could be going towards schools, it could be going towards putting cops on the beat. And instead, it is going to pad the bottom line of multinational corporations. So we have a number of supporters of this legislation: League of Wisconsin Municipalities, Wisconsin Counties Association, the Wisconsin Towns Association, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, and the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation are all in favor of this. And this is, again, about making sure that those who already shoulder the majority burden of paying property taxes, homeowners, they already pay 68%, are not abandoned and have to pay more because of tax cheats like Walmart.
Thank you, Senator Larson. And now we're going to call up Representative Onstad.
Well, thanks, Jenny, and also thanks to my colleagues from the Senate. It is really deeply disappointing that here we are, the Republican leadership has refused the vote on the dark store legislation, even though this bipartisan bill had enough sponsors on it to pass it. Speaker Vos and Senator Fitzgerald refused to allow a vote that had such broad support throughout the state. Allowing big box retailers to shift the burden from big business to the middle class homeowners and municipal governments is just plain wrong. National chain stores are costing cash-strapped cities and property taxpayers millions of dollars annually with this unfair tax loophole. Refusing to pass this bill is also another attack on local control, denying citizens and local officials the ability to assess taxes in a way that is fair to everyone, not just wealthy corporations. Unfortunately, the dark store loophole is not the only tax scheme in Wisconsin disproportionately benefiting the rich. Another one that I'd like to just mention is, according to the Nonpartisan Legislative Fiscal Bureau, the manufacturing and agricultural tax credit cost Wisconsin taxpayers up to $714 million from 2012 to 2017. This is far more than the original estimated cost of the tax credit, and 74% of the individuals claiming this credit have incomes of over $1 million a year, and several claimants have incomes of over $30 million a year. This system benefits the wealthiest Wisconsinites at the expense of those who need it most. The dark store loopholes, the man-made tax credit, and other tax policies benefiting the rich must end. I'd just like to close by thanking the UFCW for initiating this project, and we need to keep the heat on between now and the next session, and when we come back in January, we have to make this job one in terms of getting this unjust tax reversed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. Now I want to call up Rob and Barb Piper, and these are homeowners that have actually been affected by the recent dark store tax loophole. So if you would come up here. Thank you so much.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to start off by thanking all the show of support that you see around the room here. We appreciate it very much. Another thing, we heard that one of the happiest days in the Capitol here is tax day, so I want to wish everyone a very happy tax day. All right, now our story. We lived in Wisconsin about 13 years ago and moved to the East Coast because of jobs. My job takes me around. We live in different areas in the country. We decided to move back because of family. We have 3 grandkids now, so that's pretty important to get closer to that. We both turned 60 this year, so on this move, we decided to make this a retirement move where we wanted to find the right house, the right place, so on and so forth, and start planning for retirement. We did the homework. We landed in between Edgerton and Newville, which is just south of Edgerton. We chose our home based on several factors, one being the tax history, which we reviewed, and everything seemed pretty normal like we've seen in the past. Our relocation took place, about May of last year, 2017. We received the first estimate or assessment, which arrived around July, and that had an increase by 7.9%, which, okay, not happy, but we know things go up, put some kids through college, stuff like that. So we expected, an assessment to go up. However, with no improvements and no major changes to our property or our house, we received another assessment in March 2018. I have to bite my lip to say this. It increased 43%. So let me do the math for you. If you add those two up, it's about 51% in 2 years. I'm not a tax genius, but if you hold the mill rate constant, let's say you paid $6,000, that means this year you're going to pay $9,000. If you paid $8,000 in taxes last year, you add that up, that's $12,000. We're thinking about retirement. I'm going to be paying $1,000 a month. Just crazy. I'm not a financial genius, but I do know that when you're trying to retire, you're supposed to reduce your cost of living and live within your means. At these assessment rates, we probably won't survive staying in Wisconsin, or at least in the area we're in. It appears that once we purchased our home, it became a game of got you, as our taxes have been assessed at an alarming rate. As we get closer to senior citizen status, which we're not there yet, my wife made me promise to say that, but we're approaching that. With all due respect, I have to say this is a vulgar abuse of power. We love the great state of Wisconsin. We're asking that something be done to make tax assessment more fair. I'm sure if we feel this way, there's plenty of other folks out there that feel the same. So thank you for our time. Appreciate it.
Please say and spell your first and last name, both of you.
Robert Piper, Pifer.
I'm Barbara.
Barbara.
Generic spelling. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are out here today to demand that the leadership close this dark store tax loophole and revisit AB 386. By blocking this bill and doing nothing to collect fair property taxes from Walmart and other retailers, Vos and Fitzgerald are denying public schools much needed funding, which is why we will be delivering the Rotten Apple Award to Vos and Fitzgerald for allowing Walmart to get out of paying its fair share in property taxes, which decreases funding for Wisconsin public schools. Thank you to Rob and Barb for coming out, for sharing your story. Thank you to Senator Ringhand and Larson and Representative Onstad. And so right now, Making Change at Walmart would like to award the senators and representative the champion of taxpayer justice, and we have golden gloves over here.
Is that right? Wow. Pretty good. Oh, wow. Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Wisconsin Legislature Golden Glove Award.
Yeah, that's awesome, right?
That's
That's
amazing.
very cool.
That's cool.
Thank you very much, Jenny.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So that concludes our press event, and we're gonna a few of us are gonna go and delegate the bad actors here in a few minutes. So thank you.
We'll see what
Yeah, it's the same day as